Hi, everyone. So, I have been sitting with some heavy truths over the past 3 months, and I wanted to take some time to speak honestly with all of you about why things unfolded the way that they did. Something that I have learned in therapy is that I will always live with the guilt of the damages caused by my ex-husband, guilt for bringing him here, guilt for ignoring the red flags, and guilt for believing in a man that I shared a life with for 3 years but somehow never really knew. I can't carry the blame of someone else's crimes, but I can acknowledge the weight of everything that's happened, and I can acknowledge the reason as to why I got to this point. And I've replayed in my head countless times how I missed the signs and what I could have done differently. I'm learning, healing, and taking accountability for the part that I did play, which is letting love blind me and staying when I should have questioned more. That is on me. I ignored my instinct, not because I didn't have them, but because anytime I felt like something was off, there was always an explanation ready, and most times doctored proof. He knew how to soothe my doubt. He knew how to make me feel guilty for even asking. He knew how to distract me with intimacy and affection. And let me tell you guys something, that emotional conditioning is not built overnight. It's slowly built. And by the time you realize you're in it, the fog is so thick, and I didn't even recognize the person that I had become. A lot of you think I was blinded because I was naive and desperate to save my marriage, and those reasons are true, but it goes so far beyond that. I was blinded because I love someone that built an entire world that was designed to feel safe. And the crazy part is that I did feel safe with him. He mirrored my values. He knew all the right things to say at all the right times. And he created a version of himself that was meticulously engineered to earn trust, not just from me, from anyone he could target. I was blinded because I always believed in the good in people and truly did not believe that someone that I loved so deeply and cared for could be capable of this kind of evil. And the reality has left a scar on me that I will carry for the rest of my life. When the truth came out, I was so lost and in such a dark place, and I was overwhelmed, ashamed, and confused and terrified that more people were being hurt in real time, and that guilt was keeping me up at night every single day. Sharing was never about running from accountability. It was about processing something that was huge while also protecting others that might fall into the same trap. And I didn't have the luxury of sitting on this for months because he's actively dangerous and hurting people. I shared quickly because silence protects abusers, and every day I waited, someone was getting harmed. I will make things right with my friends and family, but it's also very important to me to help potential victims because the pain and devastation that this man has caused in my life, I do not wish it on my worst enemy. I can't change the past, but I can promise to move forward with awareness, honesty, and a better understanding of myself. And I wanted to take the time to say thank you to everyone that has showed me grace and empathy as I grow through this.
I need y'all to take your accountability police badges off and just lay them to rest. Anytime you put the focus of your smoke, your energy on analyzing all the things that she did wrong, as opposed to what the perpetrator did wrong, that is textbook victim blaming. And then y'all said, no, I'm not victim blaming. She just needs to be accountable. To who? You're in a situation where somebody has betrayed or manipulated you. The first order of accountability is the person who did the betrayal and the manipulation, which y'all have nothing to say about. The second layer of accountability is on the victim, but to herself. That ownership looks like doing some internal reflection, doing some introspection to figure out how she won't put herself in this situation again. That being said, the accountability is on herself to heal. And healing is a process. It's not a performance. It's not a check the box. And it's not something that you are entitled for insight into just because she made a video about her story. Her telling her story and describing the harm is not evading accountability. That's what I feel like a lot of y'all refuse to understand, because it's easier to be in a position of moral superiority to think, well, she did all these things wrong, and if she just would have done XYZ, that wouldn't have happened to her, because that makes you feel like you will never be in that situation. The problem is when you're dealing with someone who's intent on manipulating you, you are playing a game and you don't even realize that it's a game. That person, you think you're just getting to know that person. They're getting to know every little thing that makes you tick so that they can exploit it. As soon as you start to get closer and start to realize, okay, maybe something's not right, they maneuver and they position. A lot of people don't go through this world expecting to be manipulated. So sometimes it is very hard to tease out, especially when in the beginning, they play the part of being so loving, so doting. I'm going to pay for everything. I'm going to introduce you to my family. I'm going to play the part with your family. I'm going to get your family to fall in love with me. And when you're in love and that love comes from an unhealed place, which I do think that was the case in this situation, your brain is not thinking rationally. Your brain is operating through the lens of your trauma neurologically. That frontal lobe that's responsible for decision making, for critical analysis, for being strategic, that thing is shut down and you're operating from a place of insecurity, codependency, attachment trauma bonding. You're not always going to be making these rational decisions. And so it's easy as the person that's not emotionally involved in the situation, that wasn't in the situation on the day to day, to say, well, you should have done X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I mean, you can do that with anyone when you're not emotionally involved in that. So the irony of saying you're not victim blaming, demanding accountability from her, it's almost humorous because you're not taking accountability for the fact that you are victim blaming. And the funny thing is, there are some people that were like, yeah, I am victim blaming, and what? And I have way more respect for them because they're owning that bad behavior. Just because they told you intimate details of a traumatic experience that happened to them, they don't owe you accountability. You are not owed accountability. Accountability in this situation, when you are the victim of being manipulated and scammed, is a self-led process.
Well, I've honestly been wanting to come on here to talk about the Danish conception, and I know there's been so many videos going around, and now Onyeka is literally clapping back at everyone's dissertations, think pieces, and it's just like, don't come on the internet, present a 26 series knowing that, you know, Risa Tisa came and literally is living her best life because of this big series that she did. I didn't even watch the whole thing for Risa Tisa, if I'm being honest. I skimmed through it, but it was a lot, you know? It definitely was a lot, and the story is crazy. I feel like there's enough think pieces on this internet right now, so I don't feel like it's even important for me to break down where she went wrong in many aspects. But don't come on this internet with a storyline and not expect people to give feedback. I think what we have to learn from this situation is that accountability is so important. And in this life, if you don't have accountability, people will not side with you. You will not win the people's opinion if you can't take accountability and say, you know what, I was wrong. What people have to understand is that accountability is very, very important. And you can't just go around saying things and doing things without being and holding yourself accountable. Welcome to real life, and welcome to viralness. She was already on The Bachelor, so I don't know why she expected anything different. But what this internet is teaching me every day is, if you don't want to be under a public microscope, jejely sit down. Jejely do get ready with me. Jejely do the basics. Don't go and now be telling life story and expecting a Risa Tisa result. That is not always the case. People are going to decide. People are going to literally tear apart every piece of your story and make their own valid opinions, and whether they should agree with you and whether they should not. So, that's my rant.